Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. And today, it finally happened. Dante's Relics are going to be officially out, and this is one of those updates that quietly changes how a hero feels in real fights, not through raw damage alone, but through control, positioning, and scaling pressure. Dante has always been a hero defined by movement, dodge, and disruption. With these relics, that identity doesn't change, it sharpens. So let's break down exactly what these relics do, why they matter, and what they tell us about Dante's future role. At the core of Dante's relic design is one very clear idea: turning movement into power. Even at relic level 1, Dante gains access to a brand new mechanic that already starts shaping fights differently. Every 9 seconds, Dante throws a spectral spear at the nearest enemy, dealing damage and knocking them back. This alone is more important than it looks. That knockback isn't just disruption for the sake of control. It actively reshapes the enemy frontline, constantly pushing targets away and opening paths toward the midline and backline. For teams that rely on tight formations, shields, or static frontliners, this repeated displacement creates cracks that simply didn't exist before. And because this effect triggers automatically, it adds consistent, repeatable pressure, not a one-time gimmick. As Dante's relic level increases, that pressure starts to compound. At relic level 10, Dante unlocks a second layer of synergy. Whenever he knocks an enemy back, he gains a bonus to armor penetration for several seconds. This is a critical detail. It means Dante is no longer just pushing enemies around, he's being rewarded for doing so. Every successful knockback increases his ability to cut through defenses, turning disruption into real damage potential. This is especially important because Dante has historically wanted more ways to scale his damage without abandoning his dodge identity. This relic does exactly that, without forcing him into a pure glass cannon role. At relic level 20, things become even more interesting. Dante's knockback now applies a debuff that reduces the target's main stat for a significant duration. This is not just damage amplification. This is stat denial. Reducing a hero's main stat directly weakens their survivability, their damage, or their scaling, depending on who gets hit. And because this effect is tied to knockback, it naturally targets frontline or near frontline heroes who are already being pressured. In prolonged fights, this creates a snowball effect. Enemies don't just get pushed, they get weaker over time. Finally, at relic level 30, Dante's kit completes its loop. When enemies are near him, his dodge increases. When enemies are not near him, his physical attack increases instead. This is a beautifully designed mechanic, because it adapts Dante automatically to the state of the fight. If Dante is under pressure, surrounded, or being targeted, he becomes harder to hit. If enemies are pushed away, which his own relics help achieve, he gains more offensive power. There is no wrong state here. Both outcomes benefit him. This means Dante no longer has to choose between safety and damage. His relics dynamically shift him into the role he needs to play in that moment. And beyond the skill effects themselves, there's an important passive benefit that shouldn't be overlooked. Every relic level grants Dante health and physical attack. These are stats he has been craving for a long time. Health increases his survivability without compromising dodge. Physical attack improves all his offensive output, including the pressure he applies after knockbacks. Taken together, these relics don't turn Dante into a different hero. They make him more Dante. More movement. More pressure. More control. More scaling. So what does this mean in practice? It means Dante becomes even better at doing what he already excelled at. Disrupting formations, forcing mispositioning, and turning enemy aggression into mistakes. Frontlines that rely on standing their ground will struggle to stay intact. Teams that need tight spacing will be constantly adjusted, against their will. And as fights drag on, Dante doesn't fall off. He ramps up. It's also worth noting where and how these relics are obtained. Dante's Relic will be available through offers and the limited Relic Pass starting January 26th. That timing matters, because it aligns perfectly with the current environment where dodge, displacement, and tempo control are already extremely valuable. This is not a relic that demands immediate maxing to be useful. Even early levels already add meaningful value. Higher levels deepen the effect, but the core identity is present from the start. So, Guardians, the big takeaway is simple. Dante's relics don't try to reinvent him. They reinforce his role and remove some of his historical weaknesses, especially around scaling and consistency. If you already use Dante, these relics will feel natural, like missing pieces clicking into place. If you've been on the fence, this update gives you a much clearer reason to consider him. And this is just the beginning. In the coming days, we'll be testing how these relics interact with different team cores, how they affect real fight pacing, and where Dante now sits in longer engagements. So stay tuned. Stay sharp. And as always, salute and friendship.